So this week on the unofficial Sunny and Sharp pod, we're going to focus on the impacts of Amorim and the Maresca sackings that have happened more recently. We're going to discuss, are there any elite managers at the moment in the Premier League? And does the Premier League miss the manager to manager battles? So welcome. Here we are. Siege, it's just me and you this week. Ben's been torn away by family commitments, work problems, all sorts. But we're finally back. I think we've taken a well-deserved week or so's rest from recording. I think it was much needed. But how are you? How was your Christmas? How was your New Year? I suppose it's more of your New Year because me and you already caught up about Christmas. But yeah, go.
Yeah, mate. No, New Year's been good. Back to work was a bit of a shock Monday. And as people have probably seen who follow this pod and the league, my fantasy has been absolutely horrendous the last 5 weeks. I reckon it's been my worst run ever. After my 98 points, I've gone from 500,000 to 2 million in the world in the space of 4 game weeks, I'd say. I think every decision I've done has gone against me. Like even the sort of, I think when I was putting that using those 5 transfers, had a bit more money, so I went for Gordon instead of Bruno Guimaraes, which absolutely fucked me. But and then the classic Gordon today comes on, there's a penalty, he gets a penalty, and then he gets an assist after as well. So like you can't even write it.
Probably should have scored a winner as well. I think that's before it went to penalties.
It's just been horrendous. But
is it 2 weeks of 20 odd points for you in that?
Period, I managed to get fucking above 30 twice, thank God. But it was looking pretty miserable, so especially seeing some of the scores in our league. So fair play to some of the lads. But you're not doing too bad, to be fair to you, here. You've had a little upturn the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, in terms of head-to-head, it's been great. I've won 2 games in a row against like a weak Trav free hit, which just didn't. Yeah. He was very unlucky because it was a pretty good team. And yeah, I beat Gazzy T after just calling out. I took -12 and took a bench boost, and I actually won pretty comfortably in the end. So I probably didn't need the bench boost, but it was more of a bit of a backup. But actually, I have gone backwards in terms of ranking. There's been a lot of red lines. So yes, I've done well in head-to-head, but in terms of point scoring, it's not been great. I think I'm 2.6 million now or something. When at one point I was 1.6 million. It's dropped off a cliff.
I think month. I'm honestly going to focus on the head-to-head more. Like I was chatting to Peaks over Christmas and New Year when I was back in England, and he was saying, and Nixie as well, just speaking to him sort of on the phone, and Nixie was like, the only league, we've got a little league with just me, Nixie, Trav and Peaks. But he said, I'm not even looking at points. I'm looking at head-to-head, week to week. And Peaks was actually...
Yeah, maybe that's where we're going wrong.
We are going wrong. I think we'll have to get Peaks on the pod because he had some really good strategies. Because like you're going to say in a second, mate, we're changing the format of the pod, aren't we, in the new year? Do you want to sort of fill the listeners in on what's going to be happening with our podcast?
Yeah. So obviously this week is still a slight anomaly due to it being an FA Cup weekend this weekend, but we are gonna now aim for about 2 episodes a week. One's going to be this one that we're recording now is going to be with you on Monday morning, and then we'll also do another one next week that'll be the normal one that comes with you on a Friday. So what we'll do is the first one that you'll get on a Monday or a Tuesday in the week, it'll be a Monday or a Tuesday depending on how organised we are at recording, but that will solely focus on just pure fantasy. So that'll just be 4 pure fantasy trips, fantasy tips, not chips. Don't know why I said chips. First got fancy on my brain. Fantasy tips, and we'll probably be looking as well more at like the head-to-head type strategy in terms of fantasy tips. And then our usual Friday episode, we're actually just going to talk more about just football in general. Yeah. Just going to have a generally footballing chat of all the things that are currently going on in the world of football. And then we'll also be diving a lot deeper now into our head-to-head league. And what makes it so special and why everyone loves it and why we've now got a long list of people wanting to join our league. So we'll look at discussing that. And Ben will be here. I know he hasn't been here for the last 2, but he is still part of this. But that's how it's going to look. going forward. And I'm sure we've got a few other tricks up our sleeves as well coming in the next month or so, which should make it a bit more interesting. But should we focus on what we're going to talk about today, Siege? And
Yeah, mate.
that's
Let's do
mainly
it.
at the to start with
Let's do it.
the Amorim and Maresca sackings. So
Yeah.
I'll get us kick-started, shall I, on the
Yeah, go
Maresca
on.
side, and then you can do the Amorim side. So obviously Maresca was sacked on the 1st of January. What a happy new year it was to him. I don't know if he was sacked actually in the end. I think he actually walked away after some heavy discussions. I think it was on the cards. He talked about the board in the month or so before. Mad that he won Manager of the Month in November and then was gone by January. But I'm
Crazy.
just going to reel you off some stats here of how he got on his time at Chelsea. So he had 92 matches in all, won 55 of them, drew 16 of them, lost 21. He had a winning percentage of 59.8% in his 18 months or so at Chelsea, which is phenomenal. He
Unbelievable,
finished fourth
really.
in the league and won the Club World Championship in the summer. He is actually the highest win percentage of the joint with Tuchel out of the past 5 Chelsea managers. That includes Pochettino, who had a win percentage of 51%. Graham Potter had a measly 38.7%. Tuchel, as I said, had 60%, and then Frank Lampard 47%. So he was successful. But what's really interesting is it was kind of by mutual consent that he decided to leave. Poch also left by mutual consent. So that's the last 2 Chelsea managers that have done pretty well for them and then have gone out the door. What's your thoughts on the Maresca sacking before we look at who's going to be replacing him?
Yeah, I think it was like you said, he came out in the media, didn't he, sort of 2 or 3 weeks before that and said that he had the worst 2 days he's ever had in management sort of thing. Obviously, he was trying to get at something, and like you said, behind the scenes, we know at Chelsea is a bit of a mess since Bowley's come in, just the sheer toxicity of it. And like, I actually think Maresca, when he came in, the job he did trying to get that squad to play, like he had about 35 players, didn't he? I think there was stories of like lads at training getting changed in the halls and stuff like that. It was just carnage. So he actually sorted that out and then started really well. The only thing unfortunately this year, they've just bought so much deadwood. Like if you look at the likes of like Jamie Gittins and like Buonanotte, like even Garnacho, like, and what he's doing, and I think for him, well, even for like my team out here, I know it's very sort of different, but if your defense doesn't concede goals and keeps clean sheets, like it's so much easier to win games. Yes, you're not going to lose games, but I think what he's been doing with the defense, he's sort of been changing the defense every game. Like, I know he's probably kept Shalabar and, well, to be fair, who's he kept centre back? He's got Reece James coming in and out, who's probably been the best player. He's playing centre mid right back. Gusto's had a worldie, then he's been dropped. They got Fafana coming in, getting injured. They've got Hato, who I don't think is Premier League quality at all. But
Cucurella.
Cucurella has probably been one of their better players, but again, discipline-wise. So I think he's just the chopping and changing of it all was sort of obviously things weren't going right behind the scenes. But yeah, I do feel for him because at the end of the day, he obviously wasn't happy. And I think that was being reflected on the pitch in December, particularly after him having a really, really good November and a really, really good summer. But yeah, it's actually, I was quite amazed by that win percentage. Like 60% win percentages in 92 games is excellent, to be honest.
Yeah, it really is. And I think I think the problem, my view on it is it's not just one owner at Chelsea, is it? It's a multi-group ownership. Todd Boehly, yeah, fronts it, but he doesn't make all the decisions. It's not all.
Yeah.
I think this is where we get things slightly wrong. Is yes, Todd Boehly is probably the name of it because he fronted that group, but actually deep down, there's multiple people making decisions in that club, and that's probably not a, a healthy way of doing it. Yeah, they've gone for this strategy of buying all the young players, putting them on 7-year contracts, which is just madness, just to
Sad, isn't
bypass
it?
the financial fair play rules. There's clearly So I just also think we'll get onto the manager sackings a bit later because I wanted to bring it up not just at Chelsea but in general. But I just think it's also way too easy to sack a manager these days, and for someone to just walk out. I just think it's mad. But yeah, let's look at it was pretty obvious from the moment he was sacked who was going to take over. Chelsea also have ownership in Strasbourg, and that they were being managed by Liam Rosenior. We can't even call him a manager. They're first team coaches. Let's be totally honest. They're not managers anymore. They're not managers like they were in the 90s. It's a first team coach now. He's brought in to coach the team. So Liam Rosenior has come in to replace him. Again, he's done pretty well in his manager team. I mean, he's been at Strasbourg, but so as I said, like Maresca left Chelsea with about a 60% win records across all competitions. As you said, that's a pretty good, solid record. Liam Rosenior, about 50% win percentage at Strasbourg. He's been there, I think, just under 2 years. It's solid. I wouldn't say it's like, oh, let's jump out at you. I don't think it's Chelsea level, but we'll see. I will get into some details of why I think they've hired him in a minute. But do you think Liam Rosenior is going to succeed at Chelsea, Siege? What's your initial opinion before we get into all the reasons why he could and probably why he's been hired? What's your feelings on him?
Yeah, I don't really know a lot about him, but I know he's been doing some really good things with Strasbourg. Like, I think to you've obviously got to be pretty good to be able to take any club from like nowhere to where they are now in the space of sort of 2 or 3 years. So he's obviously got something. I think, like you said, he's very good with the young players. I think what he was very good at, if you've actually seen some of his videos on social media, he can sort of flick between languages in his team talks. Have you seen that? So he's obviously quite a
Yeah, I
good
have. Yeah.
communicator. So, and like you said, he's got a lot of young players under his wing, and he seems to have that Strasbourg team playing for him. However, as people like Potter found, even Maresca going from Leicester to Chelsea, Chelsea is just a different beast. And like you said about first team coaches, they're not in control anymore of the club. Yes, they're bringing him in to sort of coach the team, but will he be able to sort of have the control like he did at Strasbourg? Do you know what I mean? I think
Mm.
having that control gives you confidence as a manager, gives the players confidence. They can come to you. You are the one who makes the decisions. I think that's going to be very, very different at Chelsea. And he's got some very experienced players at Chelsea, some very highly paid players at Chelsea, which he's probably not actually used to at Strasbourg. So it's like when Potter came from Brighton to Chelsea. Like at Brighton, their scouting system is so good. It's a bit like Strasbourg. They get all these lads in and they can just blood them in the team straight away. And it doesn't actually matter if they do well or not. Because, like, let's be honest, they can just be put on the bench. Whereas at Chelsea, if you got people like Reece James not doing very well, like, he's the best player in Chelsea's team. You're not going to drop him, are you?
No,
So I
no,
think
yeah.
that control and that sort of, I don't know what I'm trying to say in terms of the word. It's like just being able to sort of trust your own instincts. I think at Strasbourg, you can do that and get away with it. At Brighton, you can do that and get away with it. At Leicester, you can do that and get away with it. At Chelsea,
Yeah,
it
there's
comes
less
under
risk, isn't there?
there's less risk.
That's what it is.
Exactly. And I think with that, there's the risk
Chelsea
reward.
have got that. Yeah, Chelsea have got the history, right? They
Yeah,
have to. They have to win things. They have
that's
to,
it.
right? Because one because of the prestige of the club, and two because they've forked so much money out of it
Yeah,
that there has to be some return there. So I think Rosenior enjoyed a bit of a fruitful time in his 18 months in Strasbourg. Look, he's taken them back into Europe for the
yeah,
first time in 8 years. Finished seventh place in League R. But the most impressive aspect, I think, and this is the reason why I think Chelsea have gone with him, is his success at Strasbourg and his commitment to developing the younger players. And I think this was a key fundamental as to why Chelsea decided to appoint him. So let's dig a bit deeper into some of these numbers. So I'm going to share a stat with you on my screen, and then I'm going to just talk us through some of those more details. Here we go. Oh, it says I've got an issue, that's just pure typical, isn't it? That I can't get up and share the picture that I wanted to share with everyone. Anyways, well, I'll get that up and edited in somehow. But so as we know, Chelsea's strategy in the transfer market, or whatever their ownership strategy is, it's been widely, and it's pretty obvious that they try and buy the best emerging talents in Europe and across the world, right? So, and I think this is a strategy that's exactly why Rosenior's appointment makes perfect sense. Because despite the criticism of his appointment, and I think there has been a few questions asked, there is an alignment between the Chelsea owners, the Blue Co Club's directive, which with Strasbourg relying heavily on the younger players, and Strasbourg do the same, including lots of loanees from Chelsea. So there's a lot of young players that are at Chelsea that are on loan at Strasbourg. And Liam Rosenior is in a league of his own when it comes to providing opportunities to youngsters. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to try and dig up this picture because I think we need to have it. So just let's see if I can just open it and see if I can share it onto
You can send it to me, mate, if not.
this screen here. I think I might have it. Here we go. So I think it's this one.
Yeah, you're in, mate. You're in.
There's the one. So as you can see, it's pretty clear just by looking at this stats that Liam Rosenior is giving the most minutes to players under the age of 21 by nearly double than anyone else in that class, right? So 15,000 minutes he's given to players under 21 since he's joined. And this includes the top 5 countries, top 5 leagues across Europe. Look, Luis Enrique's up there. I think Maresca didn't really have a choice because of what the squad is like at Chelsea. So that's why his is probably high up there. And then you've got other, as you said, you've mentioned Brighton. They're up there. I mean, Barcelona, we know didn't have a load of money that they could spend. So they've had to try and bed in, and they've always been pretty good at bedding in their youngsters. But again, there's not many other big clubs that appear on this list. So it's pretty clear that this is probably why they've done it, given the amount of youngsters that Chelsea have. It's pretty clear as to why he's done that. Now, I think if we look at the Chelsea youngsters, the average age, I'm just going to change the screen to another one. And this is just looking at the Prem. Chelsea have the youngest squad in the Premier League at an average age of 23.7. And then Brentford are second at 25.1. So they're considerably lower. And that's a whole year, pretty much lower than the next club above them. That is pretty significant. So I think it's pretty clear as to why Chelsea have brought him in and that ownership have brought him in, given how young that Chelsea squad is. And again, if we look at some of the teams on this list, are any of these, apart from Arsenal, having a really good year? Maybe Sunderland are. Brentford obviously having a fantastic season so far. But the question remains did Maresca get the best out of the team or not? We'll now see what Liam Rosenior can do, I suppose, in the coming times. But personally, I think it's just the way that the Premier League's going. And I think it's the way that clubs are going now. They're leaning towards, they don't want these big name managers anymore. They want the next up and coming manager. And I think, as we said, the risk to it is high, but then the reward can also be pretty successful. Maresca had a pretty good year and he came from Leicester City. So I think we'll just have to wait and see. But
I'm just looking here.
That's all I have to say, really.
Yeah, I'm looking here just down at the Strasbourg squad. It is actually frightening. The ages. I think there's. Let me look here. There's 1, 2, 3 players over the age of 24 in the squad, and one of those is a backup goalkeeper, the third choice goalkeeper. So you're looking at an average age, I think I just saw, of just over 22, with sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teenagers in that as well. You've got 3 lads on loan from Chelsea. You've obviously got Ben Chilwell who's there. So he's obviously a good mentor, I think. He's a good role model. But like you said, and I think
But the
it just goes
Premier
back.
League is a different
It
kettle.
is
It's a
absolutely, and it goes
completely,
back to what you
it's
said.
been thrown into a cauldron. All of a
Yeah,
sudden, you're going from France, from a team that's probably mid-table, let's say, let's be generous. Okay, they're doing okay this season, top half table, to a team in probably the biggest league in the world, where the media scrutiny is they're gonna be watching him every minute, and those boys on Sky Sports are not gonna be giving any quarter. They haven't done, they never do, and I do like it sometimes when they don't. Um,
yeah,
but it's
they don't
gonna be
hold back.
interesting to see.
But like you're right though.
Yeah.
Like that job, the Chelsea job is one of the biggest in the world. Like, how are people like Liam Rosenior even getting a look in? I know we'll discuss it later
Yeah.
on, but like I know there's this new like, yeah, developing the youngsters, coaches, but let's be honest, like Chelsea is one of the biggest jobs in the world. Like, why is
Is it
someone like
getting yes men
Zidane?
in though, Siege?
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
is it
Why is
getting a yes man in though?
yeah, maybe. It's
What
obscene,
about
really.
Diego Simeone? Diego
Yeah.
Simeone has been at Atletico for so long and he's never ever in these conversations. And I find that mind blowing.
I think he's getting paid. I think he's
Mind
getting
blowing.
paid absolute coin out there. To be fair, I think he just why would you move? Do you know what I mean? But like, why
Yeah,
would you
true.
move? I think
Yeah.
why would you move with the job security at Chelsea is ridiculous. Like, why would you move
Yeah,
somewhere where
true.
you've been for
Yeah.
nearly 10 years? I think it's even a risk. I think why it's not a risk for a senior. Like, I think he's obviously done something well at Strasbourg. Like, he could go back to France and get another job. It's a bit of a free hit. It was a bit like Potter. Potter was more of a risk for him because he was doing so well at Chelsea, whereas Rosenior, I don't think he's got anything to lose taking the job. I think if you look at someone like Lampard took the job too early, but like, how can you refuse that job when he was offered it at Derby? It's just they're
Mm.
getting people in, like you said. You can't say no to the Chelsea job, and I think that's becoming a real issue for these managers like Maresca. They've just brought him in, chewed him up, spat him out. Now he's out. Now he's got to go and find another job. Where if he stayed at Leicester, who knows where he would have been? Do you know what I mean? If Rosenior stayed at Strasbourg for 5 years, could he have done a Simeone?
Yeah,
Do you know what I
true.
mean?
Yeah. Well, Maresca's being talked about, isn't he, as Pep's replacement at City, which would just be maddening
It's
if that's the direction they want to go. But hey ho, I think we've. Shall we move on from
yeah,
Chelsea and talk about another mess of a club?
yeah.
I mean, I love it because it makes me laugh. But my God, did Amorim have a crappy time at Man United? But I'll let you
It's
dive into the
yeah. I
stats on
think
this one.
especially with Almerin, like I was just astonished that they let it get this far and then sacked him. It just seemed, and actually we're doing all right. But I'll start with I'll go into it a bit more detail. So Amarin's sacking came after his side's 1-1 draw against Leeds United on Sunday, with the club sixth in the table. United, however, had only won 2 of their last 6 league games, beating Newcastle and Wolves away in December. The club has a 40% win percentage in the Premier League this season, winning 8 of the 20 games so far. But in the 63 games Almerin, United won 24 of them, drew 18 and lost 21, so pretty much lost a third, earning the 40-year-old Portuguese the unfortunate record of the worst win ratio, which was 31.9% of any permanent United boss. So just to go into the points, his record of 1.23 points per game in the Premier League is the lowest of all managers at Old Trafford since Ferguson left in 2003. He also has the worst goals conceded per game ratio in the league, 1.53, and the lowest clean sheet ratio at 15% of any United manager. So I think this stat, before I open it up to you, mate, since Almerin's appointment, only 3 ever present sides have won fewer points than United, 58, Spurs 46, West Ham 45, and Wolves 39, which is a horrible stat, I think. But what do you think, mate? What are your opinions on it? Like I said to you before, I just can't believe they did it now. Like, he actually wasn't doing too bad. He looked like he started to turn it round. and then they got rid of him. They should have just binned him at the end of the year, I thought personally, if they were going to do it. But then then what's his name came out, didn't he? Jim Radcliffe, and said, no, Amorim's going to be here for at least 3 years. Obscene, really, isn't it?
There's multiple factors here, right? The whole journey of it was a mess, right? From the start to the end. Part of it when he came out the other week and we went through that whole period where he just would not change his formation or the way he was playing, and it was so detrimental to the team. And then he came out a few weeks ago and said, I only did that because I didn't want to give in to the media. I'm like, all right. What a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
So you've been really stubborn, basically, because you don't want to give in to the media. And the other then was the most recent interview, which has led to his sacking, where he said he wanted to be, when he came to Man United, he assumed he was going to be the manager, not the first team coach, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I don't know if the exact words.
It was something
was the
like
thing.
that, yeah.
And it comes back to the same thing that Maresca was having a battle with at Chelsea about, he wanted to potentially bring in some more experienced players, but that was against this. What clubs want is they want a first team coach and a yes man, and they don't want the manager interfering with what their strategy is for the club in the long run. It is too easy to put all the blame on the manager these days, and I hate it. And I think Amorim has been slightly hard done by, because they were starting to steady the ship and they were looking half decent. Yes, they were still slightly inconsistent, but they had a lot of injuries in this period over December. They've had players leave for African Cup of Nations. You know, they've had a lot of giving or taking. It was just, I think the bottom line was he came out and spoke against the ownership in the media, and owners don't like it. And if you're going to do that against them, if you're going to do it, you're putting your job on the line.
It is.
And it was the same for Maresca, and it's been the same for Amorim. However, do I think Amorim is better than Maresca? That easy answer is no, I do not. And I agree with you. He probably deserved to be chopped sooner rather than later. But it now comes to the decision that they're now making to get them through the rest of the season. And it just is, it blows my mind what their now strategy is going forward. But I'm sure you'll get into that.
It's like you said, it's just been, I think December's just been a bit of a mess for them. Like, I think, unfortunately with United, they are relying on Bruno Fernandes and Mbeumo. And I think when Bruno got injured particularly, they were starting to pick up a bit. He got injured at the wrong time, and Mbeumo and Diallo left. And actually, if you've watched any of the African Cup of Nations, Diallo's absolutely flying out there. I think he must have 2 or 3 goals for Ivory Coast. He's absolutely flying. Mbeumo's Cameroon got knocked out, so he'll be back soon. But Mbeumo, Diallo, Fernandes, you take them out of your team. And I think this is the damning fact, which I'm just going to go into now, which I think has really cost him. We touched on clean sheets. They haven't been able to keep any clean sheets. They've conceded so many goals. I know they brought Lamens in, but Anana last season was an absolute catastrophe. But just looking at their goals conceded, so under Amorim, United actually have a negative goal difference in the Premier League. So in 42 Premier League games, United have scored 58 and conceded 64, giving them a negative goal difference of -6. So adding in the knockout tournaments helps this greatly, especially thanks to the Europa League run across all competitions, however. But United's differential is balanced, scoring 95 goals and conceding 87. But that only was because their goal difference in the Europa League last year was +14. So it's negative in the Prem, it's negative in the EFL Cup. But if you actually look at it, he got to the 5th round of the FA Cup and the quarterfinals of the EFL Cup. So he didn't actually do very well there, but they cannot keep a clean sheet. And if you look, I know Martinez has been injured. Like, they've got Heaven playing there now. I know we spoke about him last week, but I do think he's going to be very good. He's a good player, slightly out of his depth. They've got Dallo, who not sure about. They've got Dorgu, who's gone from a left back to a right wing. They haven't got a back four. Shaw's been okay, but you cannot do anything if you concede goals. And I don't think he's been able to find a way to stop conceding goals. Even like that Wolves game the other night. Like, I know lads in the fantasy were, and a Burnley game, throwing United defenders in. I think Rafaro this week doubled up on the United defence and they conceded in 10 minutes to Burnley. Like, you know they're going to concede every game. It's ridiculous. I think that's been the damning factor for him, and it's a real shame.
Agreed.
Because
I will stand up for him slightly in the fact of last season before they got him in after the disastrous keeping Ten Hag and then sacking him in like after a month, which was bananas, by the way. I don't know why they did that, but he inherited a very drossed squad.
Shocking team. Yeah.
And then I'm not fully defending him here because he stuck to this same formation and just didn't play to any of his players' strengths. But he had a dross squad. The squad was better this year, but then through the more recent period where they've really struggled, they've had so many injuries. Like Maguire's out, De Ligt is out, Fernandes has been out. As you said, Alma Diallo's been away, Mbuemo's been away. They've been toothless without those two. Cunha clearly can't carry them on his own. He tried against Leeds, bless him, but he couldn't. You know, they've got other dross in that team like Xerxes. I mean, who is he? He's maybe one of the worst £40 million players I've ever seen.
He's not as bad as Agate. Like, what is that? What, like, imagine him coming in for Fernandes. Like, what is that?
Yeah,
like, Casemiro's actually been all right this year as well. But like you said,
and I actually think like they are in periods all of a sudden starting to get to grips with what Amorim was doing. Now, as I said, I think the main reason why he's been chopped is because he came out and spoke against the ownership, and they didn't like it.
No,
so
absolutely right.
We've backed you, and now you're coming out in the media talking about us. You can go.
It is,
Thanks.
but just to sort of like finish off before we have a quick break. Like, I think the question is like, who are the potential successors here? I know.
This just makes me laugh. I think everyone will probably know at this stage, but
like, I know there's been chat about I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer coming back to do it till the end of the year. But it was interesting. I was actually looking at some of the managers in the post Fergie era, but like, he's actually second in all-time points per game with 1.81 points over 109 games.
I agreed, but when he was there last time, when it got to the end of it, he looked like a broken man.
I know.
Before they sacked him, and I'm like, what, you're going to go back? What, with Darren Fletcher and Michael Carrick? It's like, let's roll back the years. Let's do it. I don't understand this. We're bringing a manager till the end of the season. What? Just bring in the manager you want now, so he's got more time with the players. And then when you get to the summer, then he can start building the squad he wants. So he can start doing a proper evaluation before that. What are you? I don't understand. I don't get it when clubs do this. It pisses me off. If it was my team and they went, we're just going to get a guy until the end of the season, and then we'll see. It's like, what does that say? Like, what?
And I think as well,
what are you trying to achieve there?
And it's like the old boys club, isn't it? Still, like, if you actually heard Roy Keane's interview at the weekend, he was saying like, people like, I know obviously Fergie was fantastic, but like people like Fergie, they're hanging round. I think he said they're hanging around like bad smells. Like, you've got Fletcher coming back, you got like Solskjaer. Like, all of these players were fantastic and were in the best United team ever, but it doesn't mean they can just all come back and manage the club. Like, he's got Fletcher's, Amorim's playing Darren Fletcher's, one of Darren Fletcher's young lads. Like, how on earth is he getting put on the pitch for Manchester United in the Premier League? I know they've got players away, but surely there is more players than an 18-year-old. Like, if you actually saw, I think he came on against Newcastle, and then against Wolves, he looked so out of his depth. I think, like, I just don't understand that sort of thing. Like, it's just obscene. And then
no,
I just think it's a bit of a mess.
I just don't get what like. Surely, Man United, they need a manager to come in with a big personality and will demand instant respect as soon as he walks into that. That's what they need, right? They're Manchester United. They're one of the biggest names in football. They need a big name manager to come in and fix this, because they've got a good squad. There's some good players in there. Granted, there's some missing, but they need filling the gap with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to the end of the season just makes me laugh. Go and get a Xavi. Go and get a Zidane. Go and get a Simeone. Go and throw some. You've got cash. Go and throw it at a big name signing to the end of the season and see what they do. Give it to them, and I guarantee they will come in and they will demand that they will instantly have respect, these managers, because of what they've already achieved in the game, right? Xavi's won La Liga. Zidane's won the Champions League a couple of times. You know, it's just like, these guys are like, go and get them. They're right there.
Yeah.
Go and get one of them. Who else are they going to get? Oh, we'll try and get Glasner. Granted, Glasner's a good manager, but he's unproven at a bigger level. Like Iriola, same at Bournemouth. He's at Bournemouth and Palace. Let's get that under our belts.
Like, he's at Bournemouth at the start of the year, but like Bournemouth in the last 10 games, yes, they beat Spurs, but they haven't won. They obviously beat Spurs, the last, they hadn't won in 10 games. So you're bringing your bloke into Man United who's lost 10 games in a row or hasn't won for 10 games for Bournemouth. And then it's the same thing.
A manager who's got a winning mentality, who knows how to win.
That's it.
Anyways, that was passionate. Right, should we take a quick break and then
we need to settle down here, don't we? We need to cool off.
Yeah. I need to have a drink of water, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about if there are any elite managers in the Premier League. We'll see you in a sec. Great. Well, welcome back. I think I've calmed down slightly now, but I'm going to get even more passionate in a minute. I was listening, funnily enough, to the Wombles Had a Dream podcast, which I listen to every week. It's a Wimbledon one. And it's really good. And generally they just talk about Wimbledon. I had to get Wimbledon in on this episode because obviously I love them.
Standard,
they were talking about how football these days has, like, what's happened to it? It's boring. Let's be totally honest. Football at the moment, at all levels, not like all levels, it's pretty dreary. That Arsenal-Liverpool game the other night, two of the biggest teams in the country, it was dreadful. What an awful game of football. And what I have noticed is that there is no bite, no characters, no one getting in there and being like, yeah, let's get into it. Like, there's no Roy Keanes, there's no Patrick Vieiras, there's none of these guys that you know are going to walk through walls for their team. And I also think that counts as the managers. Now, I look at all the managers in the Premier League, and I was thinking, actually, how many elite managers do we actually have? Now that Klopp's gone, how many elite managers do we have in the Premier League? Now, we know for certain that we've got one, I think, and that's Pep, because we know how good Pep is.
Yeah.
Right? But then, are there any others that we can call elite managers? We look at the big clubs and you go, right, now Chelsea have now got Liam Rosenior from Maresca. United are going from Amorim to Solskjaer. You've got Newcastle have got Eddie Howe. I wouldn't say he's elite. I think he's a good coach. I don't think he's elite. You've got Arne Slot at Liverpool. Yes, he won the Premier League, but he inherited Klopp's team. So let's be totally honest. It's probably Klopp that won the Premier League again. Are there any others? Emery at Aston Villa, maybe?
Yeah, but I think if you talk about Emery, like, the only thing Emery's got behind him, he's the only one other than Pep who's actually been at elite clubs and won massive European competitions. Like, he's obviously a very, very good manager because he's got Villa to where they are and he sort of turned the club round. And the thing with Emery, I think he is one of the only managers in the Prem, along with Pep, that is the manager. I think he runs Aston Villa. I think that's why he wouldn't go to Man United, because he would not have the control that he does at Villa. And the other one,
fair enough,
who I think is elite, or becoming elite is Arteta. But the thing with Arteta, he was Pep's number 2 for years. So he's inherited a lot of his things. The thing I like about Arteta is that he's built this from the ground up. Like, he took over them when they were all over the place. It took him 2 or 3 years. Now he's starting to buy the right players, and you're seeing the results. I think he's getting to that elite stage, but I don't think he is elite yet because he hasn't won anything. I think Emery definitely is because he has that and he's been at European clubs. But like you said, the Premier
Mm.
League apparently is the best league in the world, and we've got 2 elite managers out of 20, which is, when
Yeah.
you talk
Or
about it like that,
possibly 3 elite managers, 3
possibly
maybe,
3,
but yeah.
possibly 3. And I just think it's just too easy nowadays to, if you do well at a club in Netherlands or France or Spain or some league that, yes, it's a good league, but like, why does that mean you're going to come into a Liverpool and win the league? Yeah, like you said with Klopp, like, I'm sorry, Arnie Slot, so lucky to inherit that squad. Now he's brought his own players in, they're doing shit. And actually, they are his own players. He's brought Frimpong, those sort of lads in, Kirkes, his boys, and they're not doing very well. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. When you talk about like that, it's actually, when you ask the question, you actually think about it. It is ridiculous to think we've got 2, maybe
Yeah.
3. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think I'm right with Emery,
It would
or?
be yeah, and the fact that I suppose it's hard to claim that he's elite. I think he's a very good manager. Is he up in the echelons of elite? I suppose the bigger question we have right now is, what elite managers do we have in the world right now? Probably what? Luis Enrique's probably one. Um, I'd probably
Yeah,
count Thomas Tuchel in that bracket as an elite manager. He'll be in
yeah,
high demand after the World Cup with England. Maybe Zidane because he's won Champions Leagues. Xavi the same, but these are ex-players, right? And I think we're all, there's this. I don't know. I don't think we don't have managers like we used to. And I think someone in our WhatsApp group brought it up the other day that football's not quite like it was in the 90s. We've got these first team coaches and this, that, and the other, and we kind of bounce around. And I think it's a real shame, and I think it takes away from the edge of the game. I think the
yeah,
game itself misses your Mourinho's versus your Wengers, your Fergies versus your Wengers. You know, yeah, that, as you said before we started recording, or I can't remember if we were recording, but there isn't really the Liverpool Everton derbies. Like, a bit like, oh yeah, it's a bit of a derby. Yeah, it's like, what? You should hate each other. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Dave can give us his opinion on it, being an Everton fan in Liverpool. But I just don't think it'd be really good to see what other people think in terms of us thinking who the elite managers are in the Premier League. I would definitely say we know Pep is one. I think Arteta is on the cusp of it. When Arsenal win the
yeah,
Premier League, I'd probably count him in there as elite. And what he's done at Arsenal was pretty impressive.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Emery's on that bracket. But then you look at the rest of them, right? Thomas Frank going to Brentford. He look from Brentford to Spurs. He looks out of his depth all of a
yeah,
sudden, right?
yeah.
And who's to say that, as we talked about Glasner's and Iriolas, who's to say all of a sudden they're doing well at their little clubs, but when they make that step, it's a completely different ball game, and you get different attitudes in there. I just really miss those rivalries. You remember when Wenger stood on the gangway or whatever it
It's,
was,
it's, it's
at
like,
Old
it's even the
Trafford,
likes
like,
of like Alan Pardew and Tony Pulis. Like,
oh yeah,
if you listen to the
Sam Allardyce,
Ben Foster podcast, like, I think when Pulis came in at West Brom, like, one of the lads had like a hat on in the meeting room, and he came off and like chucked it off his head and was like, "I'm the boss," basically. So you remember when Pardew nearly nutted David Myler? Do you remember that? For
yeah,
Hull, like,
I do.
we don't have any of that, and I think, like, you're right when you talked about it
No, it's too
earlier.
nice now.
Yeah,
It's too
I
nice,
do
isn't it?
think that that bite and that is led by the manager. And yes, we've got these
Yeah.
fantastic tacticians now. I think football's gone from putting your heart and soul in it to, if you can run around, you're picked, because if you've got the physical attributes, you can be coached tactically. And that's what happens.
Yeah,
Then you pay a
agreed.
lot of money. If they do have the bite's completely gone now because they know they're going to get him paid 200K a week for 8 years. That takes the
Mm,
bite away straight away. And then, like you said, when now Frank's gone from Brentford, where the wage packet was so much lower, to then Spurs when lads are on so much money. Like, how can you control 20-year-olds who run 150K a week? If they're not playing, like, do they actually care? Probably not. So I think that's where there has to be something delved into this a bit deeper. Like, maybe
mm.
Rosenior could get a bit more out of these Chelsea players, but like Palmer's on 300 grand a week for 8 years. So do you know what I mean? Like,
Yep, that's a
you're
very
not
good
ever going to
point.
be able to compete, and you're never
Yeah,
going to be able at a big club unless you are so authoritarian like Pep is, demanding respect.
no, agreed.
Do you know what I mean? Until the money calms
Yeah,
down, because like you got
I think
lads in the Chelsea academy who are they're at 16, they're getting 10 grand a week. Like, it's obscene. Like, you can
yeah,
never control it.
I think you raise a really good point there, and I think part of the problem in that's a very good point, right? You get a manager that comes in, and most of his players at a top club are probably earning more than him a week. In what other job
No,
in the world do you come in where your employees earn less than the boss or more
I
than
know,
the boss? Sorry,
I know.
like
It's
like
ridiculous, isn't it?
if I went into my job and I was earning more than the CEO, you know, I'd be like, well, I don't really give a shit what he says. Like, I'm on a bigger wage. I don't care. I'm not going to listen to him. And I think there's this weird balance now that players have way more authority and control than the manager does. And I think it's the game is broken there because it's now that the managers are the easy ones to be blamed, the easy ones to be sacked. But when they get sacked, they still get a lovely little payoff. And again, in what other job in the world, if you're doing shit at your job, you
I
get a
know,
nice £10 million payoff? Like, what? If I was doing shit at my job, I would have been fired. I
I
wouldn't
know.
get a nice payoff for it because I've failed at my objectives.
It's
It's
ridiculous.
just the whole thing is broken. But so I suppose my question is to you is do managers I do think managers get slight of a hard time at the moment in football, but do you think they deserve more respect than they currently get in terms of, they're easy targets at the end of the day? Um, and I think they probably get more attacked from the media than maybe the ownership probably should, or the director of football who's signing all the players. They don't have to go and sit in the media and explain
Yeah,
why they've bought these players.
I think
The
that's
manager
it.
has to sit there and do it.
I think that's it. And like you said, it's when what other job in the world do you take knowing you're going to get sacked at some point? I think that's the
Yeah, it's
thing.
mad, isn't it?
Obviously, that is part and parcel of it. But it's just so interesting here. I'm just going through um, managers, every current Premier League manager ranked by major trophies won. This is currently,
There
it is
can't be
frightening.
many. There
It's
can't be
frightening.
many major trophies in
Like
that list.
Maresca, none. I know he won the Club World Cup. Okay,
That's
and
not a
then we've
major
got.
cup.
It's not a cup. It's not a major cup. You got Iraola,
No,
none. Thomas Frank, none. Kieran McKenna, that was last year with Ipswich, none. Fabian Hertzler, none. Nuno, one, which was the Saudi Pro League Championship, 2022-23.
that's not a major
David,
trophy.
David Moyes, one, Europa Conference League. Then we've got Mikel Arteta, one. Do you know what I mean? FA Cup. Eddie Howe, one, the League Cup. Marco Silva, two, which
Not
is
major.
the Portuguese Cup with Sporting and Greece's Premier League with Olympiacos. Glasner's got two. He won, I think,
He won the Europa League,
he
didn't
won the
he?
Europa League, sorry, with Frankfurt. Arnie Slot, three.
Yeah.
Obviously, a couple of Dutch back-to-back campaigns with Feyenoord, then the Prem last year. Actually, Victor Pereira's got five. Do you know what I mean? Two league titles in Portugal. Olympiacos, Shanghai Shenhua. Almarin's actually got 6 major accolades. And then we get into the top
all
3.
at Sporting.
All at Sporting, yeah. But, like, to be fair, his
Yeah.
record at Sporting was phenomenal. And then you've got Unai Emery, like I said, 3rd. He's got 9, which is crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, he's done, I think,
Pep's
PSG
on
won
what,
the
like
league.
20
Yeah.
odd?
You've got three Europa Leagues. Then you've got Ange Postecoglou, actually. I know he's not there anymore. He had 12. And then you got Pep with 29. So I think that just sums it up. That just
I
sums it
think
up
that
in a
says who the
nutshell.
elite managers are in the Premier League.
Exactly. And like, I had Arteta in that list, and he's I think he's won one thing. So like you go from 29, then the next best was Ange
Yeah.
Postecoglou. He's not even in a job anymore. Then you got Unai Emery, who's 20 less with 9 in 3rd, and then it goes to 6,
Yeah.
5. It's scary, really, that there's no massive names in the Prem anymore, is there? And I think that's the scary thing going forward.
Just before we finish, that's just rung a bell. I just wanted to I've just Googled who are the most successful current managers in the world, right? Luis Enrique is number 1 with up there with Pep. So him and Pep are the top 2 current managers in the world. And then we go through some of the other big clubs. Hansi Flick's done a pretty good job at Barcelona. I'll give him that. He's probably up there in the cusp of elite. He's done pretty well in terms of his career.
He's
Did well at
coached
Bayern.
and he's coached Bayern, and he's coached the national team. Do you know what I mean? He's had massive jobs.
Yeah.
There's no managers
Conte?
anymore in the Prem. Yeah, Conte, I think, is elite.
Conte, I miss Conte. Great personality for the league. Miss him. Like,
but
where's he gone?
Got chopped because of his personality. Do you know what I mean? Went into Spurs, said, like, do you know what? If I want to take this club on, you need to give me money. You need to let me buy my players. They were like, no. So he left.
Yeah. Then you've got Valverde. He's at Atletico Bilbao. He's been around. He knows what he's doing. He's managed Spain, etc., etc. And then apart from that, there aren't many other. Simeone, we've mentioned him. There's not many other big class names on here. You know, I'm just looking through his Vincent Kompany's on there because he's doing well at Bayern, De Zerbi at Marseille, Allegri at Milan, and that is pretty much the list.
Yeah,
there is
frightening.
I think
really,
we don't really have that many, and I think it's a real interesting place that the game of football is in at the moment. But Siege, it's been an absolute pleasure. I think we've got some passionate chatting on there. I think from our point of view, it'd be great to once we share these in our WhatsApp group and on Instagram and TikTok, etc., etc. It'd be really good to get people's opinions on. Obviously, this is just our opinion.
Yeah, just to make that clear.
By no means are we any experts here.
Yeah.
But it would be really good to get other people, all our followers' opinions on what they think are.
Yeah, because
you can happily disagree with us.
Absolutely. And I think what we want to try and do we want to make these Friday episodes more like the one today. We're obviously going to dive a lot more into our head-to-head, and because that really is something we want to push for the remainder of the season. But we really want to have a discussion over topics that come up from week to week, because I think that's really key. And what we want to try and incorporate into it is a little sort of question and answer session where we answer some of your questions on the podcast. I think that was something we really talked about, because we do really value the listeners, and we want to try and get this reach a little bit further. So yeah, no, as always, if you could like and follow us on YouTube, Spotify. Butler's doing an amazing job with the Instagram. I've just started the TikTok, which is taking a little bit of shape. It's my creative juices are flowing. I'm editing a few videos. One went to 50,000 views the other day. Haven't actually replicated that again yet, but we want to get as much engagement as we can so that we can sort of develop this podcast as much as we can. Because I as much as I love the fantasy side, I think speaking about footy is equally enjoyable, I think, mate.
Yeah, and obviously what we'd like to do is just get people on to talk about football. I mean,
Literally,
there's
these
nothing
Friday
else
eps,
better to talk
definitely.
about. Love it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to do an episode at some point and educate Siege and Ben about the EFL and all the joys that come with supporting a team in the EFL. But yeah, honestly, really appreciate all your support, guys. And yeah, do we do a sign off on this episode, Siege? Is it a fantasy sign off, or we
I
should probably
don't know.
come
I
up with
think,
another one?
yeah, we might have to come up with another one in the meantime, actually, don't we? So, but yeah, Happy New
We
Year
could just say
to
bye.
everyone. Bye. Yeah. We need to come up with another one, I think, for the Fridayettes. But Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you enjoyed that, and please let us know your thoughts. Comments on Instagram, comments on TikTok, comments on Spotify. If you do comment and ask us questions, we'll really try and answer them, and we do value all your feedback. So thanks so much. Cool.
Agreed. Right. Thanks, Siege.
Thanks,
Absolutely
mate.
love that.
See you soon.
Have
See
a
you
good
Friday.
one. Cheers, guys.
See ya.
Yeah, see you Friday. It's the Sonny and Shah Fantasy League.
And even though Son has left for the MLS,
our head-to-head league is still the best. Hosted by
Alex,
Ben,
CJ,
ABC.
Easy as 1, 2, 3.
it's another fantasy podcast.
Oh, fuck me.